Hi, I'm Angela Stribling, host of Pillow Talk with Angela. I want to thank you for joining me every Sunday night after the original Quiet Storm with Nancy Pullen for Pillow Talk. That's where we talk about love, relationships, dating, being single, all of that. And you're always here for it. You're also always here for HUR at Home Music. I love doing this every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here. Well, it's the holiday season, so we're going to take a quick break, but we're not going to just leave you. So enjoy this best of. It's HUR at Home Music and inspiration. Have a good night.
And it's such a beautiful, inspirational album. The song Freedom and Imagine. We've got love songs on there and the beautiful voice of Melba Moore, who is on August 26th going to receive the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award from President Biden.
Wow. My goodness. I'm in shock.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You have done so much.
I just can't imagine that all this is happening all at once, really. And I'm really so pleased that I have an opportunity to talk about it over and over and over and over, so I can kind of really, I know that it's happened, but how it's affecting our lives, and how it's giving us a sense of security with each other, and how we can inspire each other, and how we can. So, oh my God, I'm going to be working next year too. Oh yeah, all kinds of good things are happening here that are a result of actually there's two presidential lifetime awards. One is the Lifetime Achievement Award, which is for my career, and the other one is Community Service Award. So it's actually two. So I said, oh Lord. Let me ask you something, Jackie. Do you know what number Jesus is?
What number Jesus is? He's Alpha and Omega. So maybe he's number one. Is that what you mean?
No, Father is number one.
Okay.
So who's number two?
Jesus.
And who's three?
The Holy Ghost.
Yay! You win.
Okay. And you win too next year because you get your Walk of Fame, the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yes, so that's happening too. And that is just absolutely amazing. And that was a whole process that I understand there has to be a board to get together and take a meeting to see if you can even be suggested as a recipient. That's the word.
Most people say, all right, no, he's Dre and this, and then it changed maybe around season 4 when they heard Lotto, and then they heard Love Rhythm, then they heard In My Bed. It was like, okay, wow, he's actually talented. And so
real.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard at first to deal with that, but then I grew and I realized that the hate from Dre was actually a compliment.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I wonder about that because people have a hard time separating fact from fiction, separating Dre the character from Rotimi the person. Do you find that when you're out and about that people are hating on you as Dre?
No, not anymore. Now the conversation is about the music. The conversation is like, oh my God, he's amazing, and In My Bed is amazing. Love Rhythm is amazing. Yo, what song do you have next? It's not even about like what movie are you gonna do. It's about like, yo, what are you working on as a musician? So the transition was like really just like mind blowing for me.
Is that first for you, the music?
Oh yeah. I've been singing since I was 5 years old. I was a wedding singer. I was a Nigerian wedding singer when I was 6 to 8. And and it was one of those things where my mom was trying to make money off of it.
Go ahead, Mom.
Nigerian weddings, they throw the dollars. They were like, oh, so like when you sing, it's like, oh my God, my son is, so they would get
right.
They were getting a lot of money from it, so I fell in love with it then. It was
songs that you have done with others like Jonathan McReynolds. The song Cycles was just really, really touching. I remember it when I first heard the song, the lyric that said, You know, we may not learn from our mistakes, but the devil does.
Yes.
It's really striking.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And you can hear lyrics like that in your music from the album Clarity, and you could tell that you have definitely matured into this really wonderful person who likes to share the goodness of God with everyone she meets. You know?
Yeah, I think it's important to tell the truth, to tell the truth about where you are and how God has, been a part of that journey and been your journey. And I think that the truth speaks to people, even if there is some slight brokenness there that you're saying like, hey, I walked through this. I'm just like, just tell the truth. And there is a level of vulnerability that you don't want to touch, right? You want to make sure that you're guarding your heart and waiting for the right time to tell certain stories. But when you think about God as the author and the finisher, he is an incredible story writer, and he understands how the lows are going to play into the highs, and that we in our sinful nature cannot even understand or appreciate highs without lows. And so I think if he is authoring our story, we can take some of the phrases, if I can say it that way, that he's written with our lives and put them into song.
This is kind of deep, but seeing, I think, a Black man who was saying, for you, I give a lifetime of stability, anything you want. That was not who Black men were marketed as.
Exactly, which is so unfortunate that they lacked vision.
Yeah, but it was so deep because in our society, we were, the whole thug image, hip hop was getting bigger, and any young Black man was put into that category. This is who he should be if he's young and he's Black. This is what he should represent. And I just wasn't that. The great part was that I didn't try to fake it. Oh,
thank God for that. Oh. That wouldn't have worked. that is not who you are.
Fit in, yeah. But, and I knew I could never do that. Coming from Howard University, my classic music and all, and my classical and all that, I said, that's not going to fit. I never wanted to start flipping around trying to become something for anyone. I want to remain authentic. And at some point, the authenticity will shine through. And I love it because, 20, 25 years, however many years later, what I do became more in style.
It's real.
Yeah.
So tell us about the song Still Have You. Did you write that? Did your sons write it? Where did that song come from? It's beautiful.
It's amazing. So 20 years ago, I wrote I Need You Now, and I released that literally 20 years ago. And it was because of, it was on the heels of what I had experienced personally. My father had open heart surgery. My mother was paralyzed. They said she'd never be asymmetrical again. My wife was diagnosed with tumors, and then they said we wouldn't have children naturally. So it was back to back to back. My grandmother was ill at the same time. It was literally everything you could think of that just kept happening. And I sat down and wrote the lyrics to I Need You Now. And so a testament of God's faithfulness. And that's really the push, and that's going to be the thrust of this project, is it's just a testament of God's faithfulness. Is that 20 years ago, I sat down in desperation and in prayer, believing that God would bless and favor us. My dad is healthy. He lives 10 minutes from me, still preaching, and he's helping me to pastor. After 45 years of pastoral ministry himself, he retired. He and my mom. My mother, you can never tell she's ever been paralyzed. God is faithful. My wife, of course, is healthy and doing phenomenally well.
You have 2 sons.
And I have 2 sons, 2 miracle baby boys. But this is, I went around the block to come across this street. This is what makes this song even more special. It's already special because I believe it's going to help a lot of people, but it makes it even more special to testify of the goodness of God and the faithfulness of God. That 20 years ago, I wrote this because the doctor said we wouldn't have children. 20 years later, those same miracle children that God favored us with are helping me to provide more hope, healing, and empowerment to a generation of people that have been untouched and some of them even untapped. They don't know of the 20 years ago Smokey Norfolk, I Need You Now, but they're getting an introduction to I Still Have You, which was written not just by me, but by my sons and I. And we wrote it in the middle of the pandemic.
Make sure that you do things with your brothers and your friends and you inspire and elevate each other to do hotter and better stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Drink water.
Yeah, I was gonna say something very similar to Matt. I was gonna say always check on the people that love you and the people you love.
It's beautiful.
That's all.
Don't be scared to be scared.
Facts.
Definitely check in on everyone around you, especially in this time post, quarantine. I'm not going to say post pandemic, post quarantine. Just make sure you check in and have a little sensitivity with everyone that you talk to. Even your favorite artists, they're going to be, it's a sensitive time for them too. But I feel like the floodgates are opened and there's going to be a lot of new cool things coming out from everyone. And this is our contribution to that.
So I roll out of bed, open up the door, and I'm right there on this deck, mountains, everything. And that was where the Lord and I spent every morning for a year, over a year, every morning. I started from Genesis, read all the way through to Revelation every morning. And I mean, like he built me up, he tore me down. He tore me down, he built me up. Tore me down, he built me up. Tore me down, built me up. And then I read through some of the parts of the the Old Testament. It gets to be kind of repetitious. So back when I was younger and I was reading through Old Testament, I would get to those repetitious parts, and I say, Lord, there's a repetition. I'm gonna just breeze through it. But this time, when I got to those repetitious parts, he said, no. He said, read it word for word. Read it word for word. And so I read it word from there. Begats this, begats that. Cubits this, cubits that. Sacrifices, blood sacrifice, all this. But I read through it word for word. And when I got to Zechariah and I started reading Zechariah started talking about how we spend our lives building up our temples while God's temple is over here in ruins. And so then that made me realize that, okay, this is what was happening. I was building his temple. Praise the Lord. I was building his temple, my temple. He took everything from me that I could build my temple with, because I had been through my career, I had been through death, my mom, my dad, and stuff like that. But I was always on the road. So I had my shows that, the audience gives me love and helps me through these times. I've gone through, breakups, divorces. I've been married 3 times, divorced 3 times, right? But all those times, some of the saddest, difficult times that I've ever spent in my life were spent on stage. And that's what got me through, helped get me through. But the Lord said, I'm going to take that away from you too for a season. You don't have nothing. The only thing, what are you going to do again?
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Jack Frost nipping at your nose. Yuletide carols being sung by a choir, and folks dressed up like Eskimos. Everybody knows a turkey and some mistletoe helps to make the season bright. Tiny tots with their eyes all aglow will find it hard to sleep tonight. Do I go? They know that Santa's on his way. He's loaded lots of toys and goodies on his sleigh. And every mother's child is gonna spy to see if reindeer really know how to fly. And so I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 92. Although it's been said many times, many ways. Merry Christmas. Can't hear you. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you.
Oh my goodness. Happy holidays, everybody. We'll see you, I guess, in 2023.